This story is about how I was worried about not being able to get pregnant, but when I finally got pregnant, my husband said we should divorce. Anna had been worried about not being able to have kids since she first got married. She even received fertility treatments for 3 years. Since she was reaching her 40s, she started giving up. Then one day, Anna discovered she was pregnant. Anna thanked God and went to tell her husband Jason, but she found out he was having an affair and that he got his lover pregnant. In order to get revenge, Anna decided that after she gives birth, she'll never let Jason see their child. 6 months later, her ex-husband called her. I've been married for 7 years and I have been receiving fertility treatments for the last 3 years. I turned 40 this year, so I think it's about time I give up on having kids. But since I've already gone through so much emotional and mental stress, it's hard for me to just give up now. I want to let out my feelings here. I already felt like my time limit was fast approaching when I first got married, but I really wanted kids. I spoke to my husband about it and began my 3-year-long fertility treatment. I was grateful to my husband for letting me do this, even though he seems to have given up. Just give up already. He said many times, but I still continued. Now that I'm about to turn 40, my feelings are beginning to change. If I get older, it'll be really tough to give birth. My husband always wanted to have kids, which is why he helped me until now. If he didn't want kids, he wouldn't have paid for the fertility treatments. But now, he barely listens to me. If it's that tough on you, why don't you stop? That said so simply that I felt hurt. At that time, I really began thinking that giving up was for the best. I've always wanted to be a mom, so becoming pregnant was a hopeful dream. But it wasn't coming true. It's sad, but I guess I have no choice. Logically, I've known I should give up for a while now. I'm getting older, and my husband is getting annoyed at me. I've been telling you to stop for so long. It's just a waste of money now. It's time for you to realize. He made me face the sad truth. Well, I guess there's nothing we can do. Recently, talking about kids has becoming taboo in our home, and my husband doesn't listen to me at all. At this rate, our relationship will suffer. So, it's really time for me to make a decision. Sharing everything like this, I feel myself calming down a bit. Anyway, once I calm down some more, I'll rethink everything once again. I shouldn't just chase after my ideals. It's time for me to face reality. Afterwards, something happened that no one would ever expected. Something unbelievable happened, so I want to tell you about it. I'm pregnant. I visited my gynecologist today and got the big news. I feel like I'm on cloud 9. After I've been through, I feel so happy that this feels like it must be a dream. I'm already excited. My gynecologist was also very happy for me. I don't know if I can ever be happier than this. Of course, I felt confused at first, but my dream came true. Getting pregnant at 40 can be risky, but I'm ready. I wanted to tell my husband about this as soon as possible. I couldn't wait. I began to worry about how Jason would react, so I quietly waited for him to return from work. Surprisingly, my husband returned exactly on time that day, which gave me something else to be happy about. I quickly began to speak. Welcome home. Actually, I have something I want to talk to you about. What is it? You're smiling so much. Huh? I'm almost worried. Something incredible happened. I went to the gynecologist today. Oh, is that it? Have you finally given up on fertility treatments? No, well, I'll be stopping them, but what, huh? I don't get what you're trying to say. I'm pregnant. The doctor told me, so it's definitely true. He even got an ultrasound photo of the baby. My husband was stunned. What? Are you seriously pregnant? I actually went to the gynecologist to say I want to stop fertility treatments. All of our efforts haven't been a waste. I'm so happy. Of course, there are some risks with giving birth at my age, so I hope you'll support me. When I said that, Jason got an uncomfortable look at his face. He said something I couldn't believe. Hey, do you really plan on giving birth? I felt like time had stopped. I was so shocked that I was at loss for words. My husband continued. There are definitely risks with giving birth at your age, and there are some other things I want you to get mentally prepared to hear. I didn't understand what my husband was trying to say. Other things? Like what? I asked. He took a deep breath. I didn't think you'd get pregnant, so I started dating someone else. She recently told me she's pregnant. Of course, it's my child. Anna, you're an old lady now, right? You're 40 years old. So, I'm sorry, but I want to marry my girlfriend and raise her child. Anna, I want us to divorce, he said. I couldn't understand anything. It felt like my brain was frozen. I never expected he would betray me like this, so I was really shocked. Even when I understood the reality of it was horrible, I began questioning my husband. Your girlfriend is pregnant? Divorce? Huh? Wait, I can't understand. You've been my side this whole time, so you know what I've been going through, right? So how could you do that? What about our child? Well, there's nothing we can do now. I gave up on having child with you. Seeing you so obsessed about getting pregnant honestly annoyed me. At the time, I met my girlfriend and fell in love. She quickly got pregnant and said she wanted to marry me. So you and I just have to divorce. That's the truth, so please accept it. He pushed me away. That's the truth? I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it now. To think I could go so quickly from feeling like I'm in heaven to feeling like I'm in hell. All I could do was spite him, but he wouldn't change my mind. I want to get remarried with her, so let's divorce. He was being so selfish. I wish at least he didn't say that. I had to make up my mind too. I spent some time thinking, and in the time, I really began to hate him. There's no way I could raise a child with him, so there's no point in staying here. In the end, I agreed to get divorced. In exchange, I came up with conditions. Until the child becomes of age, Jason would have to pay child support, and he would never get to meet my child. I couldn't let this come meet my child. Even if he's the father, I wouldn't let him meet his child. If you'll divorce me, I'll agree to those conditions, my husband said. He lightheartedly signed all the documents. He obviously had no interest in our child. He was just focused on him and his girlfriend. It was enough for him that we were getting divorced, which obviously exasperated me. But when he agreed to 9 conditions, I was relieved. I also received alimony from him, and I intend on making his lover pay too. I was incredibly shocked when he told me he was having an affair. I still can't forgive my husband, but I'm pregnant. I will do all I can to give birth to a healthy baby. Though I don't have a husband to depend on anymore, I feel like if I have my baby, I can handle anything that comes at me. For the meantime, I went to my parents' house. They lived near my gynecologist, which was very convenient. Of course, part of me wanted revenge, but most important was the baby in my belly. Even if I did want to get back at Jason, I don't want to ruin my life by pushing myself too hard. I need to get myself together for the sake of my baby. So though I hate him, I don't plan on getting revenge. Raising a healthy baby and being happy. That's the best revenge. Anyway, he's paying me alimony, so that's sort of like revenge in a way. Of course, there were many things I worried about. When my child is 20 years old, I'll already be 60. I had some money saved up from before I got married, and I received money from the divorce, but I wanted to avoid using them, so that they could be used for my baby in the future. My family was wealthy, so that was a huge help. They said they'd take care of me for a while. Now what I need is rest. After the baby is born, I plan on working a lot. I'm not sure what will happen from now on, but I will do my best for the baby. Anna's husband had an affair, so they got divorced, but then he made a huge discovery. But Anna received strength from the baby, and her resolve was firm. Some time passed. My wounds from getting betrayed by my husband slowly healed, and the baby in my belly is growing healthily. It looks like I have no problem giving birth. Today, I have something else I want to talk about. It's about my ex-husband. Actually, he called me yesterday. I was surprised when my phone suddenly rang. We had decided we wouldn't talk unless absolutely necessary. I decided to pick up the phone. You're calling me. Is it really that important? Jason sounded impatient. Yeah, it is. I hope this makes you happy, he said. I didn't understand what he meant. What are you talking about? The truth is, I wasn't the father of my girlfriend's child. Hearing what he said, I froze. My ex-husband continued. When I asked her to take a paternity test before she gives birth, she refused. I told her I wouldn't accept the child if she doesn't take a test, and the truth came out. The worst thing is, I was her side piece. So you're saying she's actually loved someone else? I asked. Yeah, it seems so. When she got pregnant, he ran away. She didn't know what to do, so she told me it was my child. I was disgusted. What a disaster. Well, I always thought there was something off, the timing and all that. So why'd you call me? I asked. I broke up with her. Well, of course I did. It's not my child after all. There's no way I could raise that kid with her. You get where I'm going with this, right? I had a bad feeling, but I pretended not to understand. No, I don't get it. Jason then said something absurd. Why don't we get back together? Since I'll be paying child support, let's raise the kid together. I froze. I couldn't believe him. He seemed to think it was completely natural for me to get back together with him. My whole body was covering in goosebumps. Of course not. Why do you think it'll be okay? Why? Well, the baby you're pregnant is definitely mine, right? Yeah, unlike someone. I don't have affairs. In that case, let's raise it together. The baby needs a father, right? Even if it needs a father, it doesn't need someone like you. You'll just be a bad influence. But I'll be paying child support. And I'm the father, so what's wrong? This isn't a joke. Of course you're obligated to pay child support. There's no way I could raise a child with you, after you had an affair and betrayed me. You have no right to call yourself a father. I clearly rejected him, but he wouldn't give up. Fine, I was wrong. I really feel bad for having an affair and betraying you. I didn't think she would betray me either, so I know how you feel. I regret what I did, and wonder how could I do something so horrible. You never betrayed me, and you're pregnant with my child, so now I will make you happy. I'll do my best as the baby's father. Hearing him say that made me feel like throwing up. Hey, this isn't something that goes away just because you say you feel bad. I don't want to be happy with you. Just pay me child support. You better live up with the promises you made when we got divorced. Even when I give birth, there's no way I'm letting you meet my baby, I said curt. No way, come on. Let me take care of it. This isn't a joke. Do you think I want to have anything to do with a scum like you? But it's my child. Who was the one who threw this child away and went to another woman? You have no right to call yourself father after what you did. It's probably true, but if you think it's true, then stop saying such crazy things. I won't change my mind. There's no way I'll get back together with you. At a loss for words, Jason went silent. He didn't seem to regret what he had done, and I felt refreshed now that I was able to get my revenge. I'm sure some people think it's best to have a father around no matter what he's like, but I'm of the opinion that it's better for there not to be one than for it to be someone like him. So there's no way I was going to be with him anymore. Even if he pays child support, I won't let him meet my child. I repeated the conditions of our divorce, and Jason began to cry. Anna, please rethink those conditions. Let's meet up and talk this through. I want to know how big our baby has gotten. So can't you just meet me for a bit? At this rate, my life has fallen apart. I lost the people I love, was betrayed unbelievably, and now I won't be able to meet my child for the rest of my life. I don't care. This is all a result of what you've done. If you didn't have an affair, this wouldn't have happened. I'm so relieved we got divorced. I hung up the phone. I didn't feel like talking to my ex-husband anymore. He really was in love, but I don't care. I had no plan on changing my mind. I didn't want to deal with that man anymore. So as long as he gave me child support, I will ignore him. But I worried that he wouldn't pay child support, since I said I wouldn't let him meet our child. In order to be able to deal with that if it happens, I'll look for a job and try to find a way to support us. Thank you for listening to me. I feel like I can finally put the past behind me now. I'm a bit scared about giving birth, but I will do my best. I have to face a lot of challenges from now on, so I'm happy that you all support me. Anna's ex-husband got what he deserved. No matter how much he regrets it now, Anna's feelings won't change. Jason has no choice but to live with his life in regret. Now that she knows what happened to him, Anna can let go of the past. If you were in Anna's shoes, what would you do? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. See you next time. Bye!
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children. With zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.